Just before we continue to another huge chapter in this Python learning process, let me just walk through about something very important what we learned so far. If you notice here, when we review our code, you will notice some different colors which show here. And each color define and mark some different function, some different type, some different thing in Python. And we will put focus on this purple one, things what you will see in our code, which are called Python pre-built functions. So what's that? Python have many pre-built functions, and that means that there are some functions which are pre-built, pre-made in Python, whose functionality is predefined and they're available anytime when we need them. So that means they're pre-built. And we can call them in any type of code we make, anytime, not depending of is it global or local thing, so they work always. I will just explain you what we did so far, because in Python, I think there are over 71 pre-built functions, so it's pointless to walk through all of them, because trust me, you will use maybe 10% of all. So I will just explain you so far what we learn, what we use, what we will use, and how we will use that, and how you will always recognize its pre-built function. So like you see here, we have this int. When we turn something from a given value what was text into number, and this pre-built function, it's called integer. And the most common we use all the time is print. So print is function which we always use to show what our code is going to execute. And like you see, the most important part for any function, pre-built function or function like you made here, is that you need to place inside parentheses some parameter. So that means this is function. Even when you call something, you will call it like, for example, let me show you when you open Python console, and when you want to quit, you will quit it, that you will again put empty parentheses. So that means you call function to quit. So we know what it's print function. When we want to print number, when we want to print text, when we want to print boolean, when we want to print floats, we always can do that using print. But of course, when it's string, must be under quotation. When it's number, when it's integer, it does not require quotation. So there is a rule how we write things inside parentheses, how we place some parameter inside function. Another function what we met is input. Input is function which requires from user to make some input of some value. So like you see here, again, it's in purple color, but it doesn't mean it will be in your code editor in the same color. But however, and which color it will be different than the rest of the code. So you will know it's pre-built function, but in my case, it's purple. So input is again another pre-built function, and that pre-built function, like any other function, also came with some parentheses where you need to put some parameter inside. And in this case, we require from user by some explanation what we want to receive from him as a return input. When we convert our list to set, we use set function. So we use set to convert list. In this case, we use variable where we store our list, but you can also regularly make it like simply this. And it's the same thing. Only point is when you convert list to set that you inside parentheses put parameter, and parameter in this case is list, if you want to get set, of course. And also we have this first mentioned function integer, when we through user input request from Python to convert given value from default string to integer. And this is something what you're already familiar what it is and how to use it. But you also noticed that all these functions can have also some additional function, like we have here. You see, when we make this user input.split. So that means if I want, for example, to write some 5, 10, whatever, 20 list, I can use dot and I will get from my editor, let me scroll that you see it, bunch of list of some pre-built function what I can also use here. So it's also possible. So when I go, for example, this is some input by a text, but when I go, for example, to list and I create some list from this, and when I press dot, I will also get list of pre-built function. And you see, when we talk about list, we have that append and pop pre-built function what we also use. And when I change this to be set and I press dot here, you will see now remove and add like pre-built function. So all of these are pre-built function, but the most important part which you need to understand and separate from understanding is that there are pre-built global function like print, input, set, integer, etc., and so many of them more. And each of them can also have additional pre-built functions. But those additional pre-built functions are absolutely different for each data type. So what you get for list, it's not necessarily same for the set. What you get for string, it's not necessarily same. In many cases, it's not the same. That's the point what I try to say. Each data type have additional different built-in function for some additional things to do. And this is something what I want you to understand. So we have this global pre-built function what we can use, and we will use them a lot in future. And also you have additional things what you can use after you place dot, which is different for each data type. And so far this is only thing what you need to know and need to understand to avoid future confusion, because what we will met in one kind of data type with additional pre-built function won't be the same like we will work with another kind of data type. So you should not be surprised why, because it's not the same data type, so they won't have the same additional built-in Python function. Of course, to not forget, we also have another function here. It's called type, when we ask Python to tell us which type is written inside of some variable, in our case exactly. But the most important thing related with pre-built functions is something what I mentioned is in last video. We can nest set function inside type function inside print function. That means they can be nested like function inside function inside function as many times as there is a reason why we're doing this. In our case, in this particular case, with set function, we convert what it stored in this variable as a list into set. Then we tell Python, tell me which data type is this set. And then in the end we say, okay, now print me that. So this is something what we did with some reason. We convert a list into set, then we ask Python which type is this what we get, and then we finally print that result that we also see that it's actually data type of set. So this is also something what you need to understand. Pre-built functions can be nested in each other, but this is not mandatory and this is not something what you should do too often because it's confusing and actually you don't need it. I did it here just to show you what we are doing, that you know what it's set, what it's list, to show you that it's actually really set and that we print that to see that what I'm talking about is exactly like I said. So now we have in front of us another huge chapter to solve, and that's a dictionary in Python, and I can't wait that we reach some new things and teach you something new. But so far, if you understand all until here, trust me, it's good, because we already walked through many things in Python, and this is very important to be aware that logic, how we learn stuff, is really tuned to everyone, to follow everything easily step by step and understand everything in this progress in the easy way, easy to adapt, easy to apply in personal work. And let's continue. What else I can say? See you next video.